Welcome to MRCS Hacks, and today's topic we're going to be talking about the facial nerve, which is the seventh cranial nerve. This is a very common diagram structure that's on the internet for the facial nerve, and I'm going to talk you through the process, its branches, so that you better understand it. So the facial nerve travels within the facial canal, and the facial canal is in between these two circular components on my diagram. Okay. The first circle is the internal acoustic meatus, and this is found at the base of the cranium when you're going through the cranial fossa. It's one of the fossa through which the facial nerve leaves. And the second circle is the stylomastoid foramen. The nerve exits the facial canal. It's somewhere back here. Okay. Now, the nerve gives off three branches within the facial canal and then a lot of other branches after when it exits the stylomastoid foramen. So let's get started. So at the first turn of the facial canal, you have this structure, which is the geniculate ganglion. Ganglion is a collection of nerve cells, and the geniculate ganglion is a sensory ganglion that firstly gives off the greater petrosal nerve, but also receives supply from the chorda tympani, which is another branch of the facial nerve, bringing in taste sensation from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. Okay, so the first nerve that gives off from the geniculate ganglion is the greater petrosal nerve. This nerve is quite important because it carries parasympathetic fibers to the lacrimal glands. Okay, and it travels along with the second division of the trigeminal nerve, which is called the maxillary division. Okay. And it travels along with it to the lacrimal glands to give parasympathetic stimulation. So I'm just going to write PS here in small, so you know it carries parasympathetic fibers. Okay, and this is done through the pterygopalatine ganglion, which is something you need to know of. Okay, the second nerve that's given off within the facial canal is the chorda tympani, which we've already mentioned. So this supplies taste to the anterior two-thirds of the tongue, and it hitchhikes with the lingual nerve, which is a branch of the third division of the trigeminal, which supplies general sensation to the anterior two-thirds. So it gives taste to the anterior two-thirds. Okay, so let's write taste, and then maybe taste anterior two-thirds. Okay. The last branch within the facial canal is the branch to the stapedius muscle. Now, this is quite important because if the stapedius muscle or the facial nerve to the stapedius muscle gets damaged, you get hyperacusis because the stapedius muscle is responsible to dampen loud sounds. Okay, so then the nerve leaves the facial canal and it gives off a few branches. So the first branch it gives outside of the facial canal is the posterior auricular nerve. It's not very important. I think it gives sensory supply behind the area of the ear. So the next nerve that's given off is the nerve to the posterior digastric muscle. Got an anterior belly and a posterior belly, and it divides the anterior triangle to a smaller triangle, which is called the submandibular triangle. Okay. The next nerve that's given off is the nerve to the stylohyoid muscle. This is also an important muscle. It goes from the styloid process down to the hyoid bone at the level of C3. Then the muscle leaves and enters the parotid gland to give its 5 terminal motor branches. Okay, these are quite important. So you've got the temporal, the zygomatic, the buccal, the marginal mandibular, and the cervical. Okay. And these are very important when you're testing the facial nerve in the cranial nerve exam. And they're also important for knowing in part B and A pathology, because these superficial branches go through the parotid gland, and any parotid pathology can impact these nerves. Parotid surgery or parotid tumors can cause a problem in this. Okay, and I think that's it. So you've got 3 branches within the facial canal, and you've got 1, 2, 3, and 5, 8 branches outside the canal. Okay, hope it makes it a lot easier. See you in the next one.